Welcome to Women's Sports Weekly, where women's sports happen every day, but we talk about it once a week. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Carolyn. Women's Sports Weekly is a podcast where we discuss the latest news, explore interesting stories, and share our love for women's sports. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Women's Sports Weekly Pod. Follow us and rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Send us an email at womensportsweeklypod@gmail.com, and we may feature your email on the Listener Experience Zone, the Les. We have a Les today.
We do, and it has to do with the Barbies. We are officially playing softball with the Barbies, and our question is from our friend David, and he wrote in, what positions do you play for the Barbies? Who is the better batter? Who can run the bases fastest? And who drinks more beer while celebrating? Obviously, David knows we're very competitive, and he's really pinning us against each other on this one.
And the Barbies just started. This is our rec softball league that we play in. It's a gay league, which is great, and we love it. And it just started up a couple weeks ago. We weren't able to make it to the first doubleheader because of the Colfax Marathon, but we made it to this last week's doubleheader. And last Sunday, we won both of our games. Barbies are now 500. We're off to a good start.
Yes, really exciting. And the heat was offensive. I forgot how brutal these summer games are, but still fun. But to answer your questions, David, positions. I usually play the infield, but sometimes the outfield. But this past weekend, I played shortstop, which is my favorite position. Then I got some second base action.
And I play in the outfield, usually left center. That's where I'm most comfortable. We both love it. I love left center field.
Yeah, I would happily go in the outfield too. Better batter, probably you. I never really loved batting.
Wow.
Would you agree?
It depends on the day, I think. Sometimes I can pretty much tell with you when you're going to be on and when you're not, which is really interesting.
I was not on this weekend.
I could just tell in the way you're approaching it, which I think just comes from knowing people. And I'm a little streaky too. Sometimes I've got it and I'm seeing the ball and I know exactly where it's going and where I want to place it. And then there's a couple pitchers who play in the league who know where to place the ball for certain batters. And I struggle a little bit more with them. Slow pitch, it's easy in the sense that you can put the ball in play, but to be good at slow pitch, it takes some time and effort and patience.
Yeah, for sure. And I think our team manager thinks we're pretty close batting. We bat one after the other.
Yes.
So we're right next to each other in the lineup.
Who can run the bases the fastest?
Since you won the 100-meter dash, was it, this winter, I guess I can't argue unless we do a repeat. I still got you on the long distance, though, so I'm just going to take that and run with it.
Yeah, maybe who could run out a home run the fastest? It's probably you, but to get down to first base, I think it's me.
I wonder.
There was a play this past weekend where I got thrown out at first, and I think, actually, I know I hit the bag before it hit the glove, but they called me out, and it's rec softball. I'm not going to fight anything that happens really in rec softball. And I went back to the dugout and I was like, did I at least look fast? And everyone said yes, but I think they were just being nice.
And then who drinks more beer when celebrating? Well, neither of us drink when playing softball. Some of our teammates do, but it's a pretty hard and fast rule that we don't do that. One, I don't want my teeth knocked out. And two, it's way too hot on Sundays to be drinking.
It's just a rough time to be drinking. I know a lot of people love to drink when they play. It's just not something we do.
No.
But if we were to celebrate a win, who would drink more?
Probably me.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm throwing down more beers.
Danielle would be celebrating and drinking a little bit more, which I don't know if our friends here who are newer and probably the listeners of this podcast, like Danielle has more of a party bug than I will ever. And when she gets going, you can see it. She's like ready to go. Even this past weekend, we went out to a brewery and Danielle had a couple drinks and she was like, let's go get dinner. Let's go get margaritas. I'm ready. Like a switch kind of goes off and she's just down for anything.
Yeah, it is true. And a lot of people are surprised because I come off as a pretty mellow person, which internally not so mellow. But I always get that from people and they never think that I could be a partier. But sometimes, it's Pride Month and I've just been like, I'm feeling frisky this month. And I had 3 beers on Saturday and then we got to dinner. I was like, and I'm done.
Yeah, I can't have a margarita.
So it's no longer like it used to be. But every once in a while, I still like to get after it.
For sure. So if you want to see a different side of Danielle, Find her during Pride Month. We're both on one, but she's on one.
Yeah, but I don't know. Gotta wrap it up because I'm training for Toronto and running on Sunday after a few drinks on Saturday. Can't say it felt the greatest. But speaking of Toronto,
and you're still saying Toronto. First of all, hold on. Before we get into this, I just need to shout out our Canadian listeners because we have a bunch.
Yes.
And they reach out to us and they help us and they're very kind to us. And I just want to say thank you because I know that we are hard to listen to when we talk about Canada. And I just so appreciate you calling us in rather than calling us out, which we would very much deserve.
Yeah. It is true, but we got a lot of great comments or people reaching out to us directly about Toronto in general and about our conversation last week about where it's located. So, still wrong. I thought it was on the coast.
You thought it was on the East Coast?
Yes, but literally it's called the Toronto Waterfront Marathon. So, I assumed it was like
running along the Atlantic.
Ocean. And someone said that Toronto is indeed not on the coast. It is on a very large lake. So we're still wrong. I guess I didn't zoom into the map far enough. And then we also got several people just saying, wow, I had to look up Toronto on a map after listening to the episode, which really made me laugh.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess when we were in school, they weren't big on Canadian geography.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or if they were, I was out that week. I don't know. We're sorry, Canada, but we really now know where Toronto is.
Yeah, I zoomed in on that lake. So that is the lake I will be running on, not the Atlantic.
Do you know what lake it is?
Nope, not a clue. Again, need to do some more research. Looks pretty. And we also had some listeners already send us food recommendations, which I'm pumped about.
Yeah, send us all the food recommendations or things we should do. I love a history tour. So if you've got some good Toronto history, send it my way.
Yes, for sure.
All right, let's get into our highlight reel for this week. We need to talk about PWHL expansion because this year with 4 new teams, they are doing expansion in an interesting way. So they are not doing an expansion draft, but they are doing an expansion roster distribution process. And it is a 5-phase approach and it's very confusing. So I just want to break it down a little bit.
Yeah, it sounds like a mouthful.
So the idea is that this expansion roster distribution process will give the players a little more choice. And this was in reaction to when they did the expansion draft to both Seattle and Vancouver. And players were just getting plucked and sent to different teams without any kind of player power or player negotiation or player thought put into it. So this is in reaction to that. So the first phase of this approach, and again, these 4 new teams are Detroit, Hamilton, Las Vegas, and San Jose. The first phase was that the existing teams protected 3 players. So they got to protect 3 of their own players, and that is posted online. Then the incoming expansion teams submitted an exclusive negotiation target list of players that the team had interest in signing. So each of the lists included 20 players who were either on expiring contracts or were left unprotected in the expansion draft. So phase 1, the existing teams protected 3 players. Phase 2, the incoming teams provided a target list of 20 players of like, here are the ones we're interested in who are not protected right now. Every player was notified if they were on the team's list, and within that, they can be offered 2 types of contracts. So the first is an expansion franchise offer. The expansion franchise offer allows expansion teams to use just one of these offers to a player with an expiring contract. This offer is guaranteed tender, which means if the player is offered this contract, they are required to sign. However, it comes with some extra benefits for the player. So the player's salary will be no less than $100,000 or the player's 26 salary, whichever is greater. So if they were making more than $100,000, they get that salary. If they were making less, they're guaranteed $100,000. The player will also get to determine the length of the contract between 1 and 4 years. So they're like, okay, you have to come to Hamilton, but you get to decide how long your contract is. So if you really think you're going to hate Hamilton, you can say 1-year contract. If you think it's going to be awesome, you could say 4. This is actually the first time the PWHL has offered a 4-year deal. And then players who sign for multiple deals will receive an additional $20,000 up front, and the deal is fully guaranteed. So whether the player gets hurt anything happens, they're definitely getting their full contract.
Okay.
If multiple expansion teams offer this EFO, this expansion franchise offer, to the same player, that player can choose which team to sign with. So it gives them a little bit of power. But the expansion franchise offer is a lot of money, but you need to sign. The other type of offer during this phase is the foundational player offer. So foundational player offers are offered to players on expiring contracts during this second phase. A player who is offered this is not required to sign with the expansion franchise, but if she rejects the offer, the player must sign a new contract with a team by the end of phase 3, which we'll get into phase 3. This foundational player offer must be at least 2 years in duration and worth $80,000 in year 1 and $82,500 in year 2. So a little bit more money. And the player salaries just came out for the PWHL. A lot of players are making significantly less. We're still not at where we want to be with pay. The PWHL is still very early. So this is a step towards that. Expansion teams in this phase 2 are permitted to sign 5 players. So the goal for each of the expansion teams by phase 2 is to sign 5 players. If any expansion team is unable to reach 5 players by the end of the window, they will be allowed to select unprotected players either under contract or with their rights held by existing teams. But it needs to be from their exclusive list that they provided. So again, these are like some extra caveats, but they have this list. They're trying to get people in those lists by phase 2. The third phase, which actually begins today, June 10th to 12th, allows all 8 current franchises to protect or sign 3 more players. So now it's going back to the existing teams of like, okay, you all just had your shakeup. So now you can protect or sign 3 more players of your choice and bring them in and have your rosters become a little bit more set. So it's this give and take. So it's not just like when Seattle and Vancouver came in, they just kind of just grabbed people and it was like, oh, every other team figure out what you're going to do now. So that was in response to this. Players on expiring contracts can sign with any team in phase 3, not just their current roster. And then expansion teams will also be able to sign up to 3 more players on expiring deals during this phase. This is also the time that any player who rejected that foundational player offer in phase 2 has to sign a contract with the team during this time. The fourth phase is June 14th to 15th, and this is where expansion teams will sign the remaining number of players to reach a total of 10 players on their roster. And at this point, any player not protected or signed in the first 3 phases can sign with an expansion franchise. However, teams cannot sign players who were previously on their exclusive negotiation target list from phase 2. Again, a lot of words here, but players can sign, but if you were on that exclusive list of a team, you cannot be signed to that team during this time. They have to pick up other people. I don't really understand why they're doing this. I'm sure there's a good reason, but that's how they're doing it. The final phase is June 16th to 18th, and this is like open free agent season. Free agents can re-sign with their current team, or they can wait for the league-wide signing period to open on June 19th, because the PWHL draft, the entry draft, so anyone out of college are coming in from overseas who are playing for their first time in the PWHL. That happens on June 17th. And then that open signing period, so that free agent open time, begins for all teams 2 days later. Whew, that's a lot of phases and a lot of give, take, gives the players some power. Make sure that these teams are well-rounded.
So is it safe to say that similar to what the WNBA went through this past year, a lot of the teams are going to look extremely different?
Correct. A lot of the teams are going to look really different this year. 4 new teams is a lot of new teams, and they need to build out this roster. The PWHL entry draft is going to look like any other draft that is done, where the players coming in, they don't get much choice. The rookies coming in, they get signed to a team. Sure. That's where they're going. But yeah, these teams are going to look very different. And KK Harvey, who's going to go number 1, and Vancouver Golden Eyes have the number 1 pick. They can pretty much think in their head, okay, we have KK Harvey here. How do we want to make this work for our team?
Sure, that makes sense.
Okay, so some notable signings so far. Alina Müller was picked up by PWHL Hamilton to a 3-year standard player agreement. So that second one that we mentioned, not the franchise one. She is the Boston Fleet's all-time leading scorer. She is tied for most assists in PWHL history with 40 and sits tied for 10th all-time in scoring with 56 points. She was also the alternate captain with the Boston Fleet, but they didn't protect her. and now she's going to Hamilton. PWHL Hamilton also signed forward Brienne Jenner and goaltender Kaylee Osborne, both to 3-year contracts. Also, this one is what kind of got me going a little bit. PWHL Detroit signed Britta Curl to a 3-year contract. It wasn't the exclusive franchise offer, but they did offer her the 3-year contract, and the internet was rightfully upset.
But does this mean Minnesota didn't protect her?
That means Minnesota did not protect her, correct. Interesting, for sure, but Minnesota has so many great players. This expansion process, we knew that Minnesota was going to get destroyed. They have so many good players on their team. They can't protect all of them. And so Britta Curl gets picked up. In the comments I saw, and we've talked about Britta Curl a ton. You can go back and listen to any of the episodes where we cover the PWHL. She's most likely mentioned. Has made transphobic comments in the past. She continues to double down on those with who she collaborates with. She's liked tweets about Kyle Rittenhouse. I can't even believe that sentence comes out of my mouth. And then she has made weak apologies and then has done none of the work. And you could just tell there hasn't been a lot of learning on her part. And every time that we've seen her play and she's touched the puck, she gets booed. It happened a lot during the Olympics. On top of that, she's an incredibly dirty player. She gets suspended all the time. And it's interesting that Detroit is choosing to make that statement.
Yeah, this is hard because what's going to happen? People just aren't going to pick her up. It sounds like she would be a cancer for the team and a cancer in the locker room, but I don't know.
I don't know either. It seems like her teammates are okay with her. It really does. So maybe we have the wrong read here. Maybe there has been some things that have happened behind the scenes. This is me speculating. I really don't think so. I think teams may tolerate her, and Britta does what Britta does, and she does well when she plays, and we're just going to leave her to do what she does. I don't know. That's all speculation on my part. I just think it's interesting for teams to make this decision, because if they didn't pick her up, she would just stay on the Minnesota Frost, right? Yeah. And the Frosts have already said that they're willing to work with her, so why not do it? So I just think it's interesting that Detroit was like, yes, we want her.
Yeah, they might just want an enforcer, and that's what they see in her.
Yeah, that's true. In the comments on social media, there were multiple people like, I want my season ticket deposit back. This is crazy. Why are we doing this? So it's understandable. And I feel bad. We have our friend Maria who loves Detroit and is from the area. And she's like, why do I have to support a team that also supports this person? And it just makes things complicated for fans. So unfortunate. PWHL Detroit also signed Daryl Watts. She received the expansion franchise offer, and Hannah Bilka on a 2-year contract, and defender Kayla Barnes on a 3-year contract. At the time of recording, it's notable that the Seattle Torrent protected Alex Carpenter, Hannah Murphy, and Anna Wilgren. They did not protect Hillary Knight. And so we don't know. She might be on the move. By the time this comes out, she might have a new team. She might be staying in Seattle. I'll be very curious to see where she ends up.
Same. Maybe they're trying to invest in younger players at this time and just kind of going with that.
There were some rumors that maybe it would be Las Vegas. Again, this is not confirmed because her partner lives in Utah and Las Vegas to Utah is better than Las Vegas to Seattle. So we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. All right, with that, let's get into the U.S. women's national team. We are going to cover the game from Saturday. They also played on Monday, but we will cover Saturday's game from over the weekend where they lost to Brazil 2-1, and this was in Brazil. There were 31,000 fans in the stands at this game, and it is important to note that because these fans were very rowdy.
Yes.
And the young U.S. lineup might have gotten rattled a few times, and it's been noted in a few different articles, and Emma Hayes had talked about it, but this is what she wanted to get different players exposure, which we'll get into a little more. But I will say that the crowd definitely played a big role in this game.
Yeah, the crowd hated the U.S. This is also very important because the World Cup will be held in Brazil, and the U.S. needs to play in places that are not really fond of them and where the calls might not go their way. And so I think this was a really important step for the U.S. It was really unfortunate that they lost. They didn't play great. So I think there's a lot of learning that can happen here.
Yeah, for sure. And this was the first U.S. game in Brazil since the 2016 Olympics. So it has been a long time since they played here and just really good exposure for a lot of the players. The U.S. did get off to a fast start. They were the first to score, and Sophia Wilson scored with less than 2 minutes into the game. We've talked about this in the past, how the U.S. sometimes is really good at just getting a goal early.
Yep.
She got the ball cut to the middle of the field and took a shot just outside the box. She was able to place it in the bottom left of the goal. But not too long after that, 11 minutes into the game, it was already tied up by Brazil when Taina Meireño scored a goal. And then 3 minutes later, Bia Zanerato scored again for Brazil. And that's when they took the lead. And the U.S. could not score again after that.
I want to point out something. So Sophia Wilson's goal was her first goal back from having a kid for the U.S. women's national team. So that's awesome. But yes, Bia is really, really good. And yeah, Brazil can't be underestimated. We have so many Brazilian players within the NWSL who just crush.
Yeah, absolutely. And when they took the lead, the crowd was described as hostile and intense. And as I mentioned earlier, they definitely rattled the U.S. lineup. It was a young lineup in there. And Emma Hayes did say that the players need the experience under that intensity. So I think overall, even though it was a loss, this is a good test for them. And they struggled in the first half. They turned the ball over in the attacking third. They lacked composure and overall just control over the game.
Yeah, the first half was rough looking for the U.S.
Yeah, they struggled a bit. Claire Hutton and Lily Johannes was the starters in front of a back four that had never started together. So that's some inexperience right there. And then you have Mandy McGlynn, who started in goal for the U.S.
Yeah, and so Claudia Dickey, who has been playing in goal a lot for the U.S., she wasn't even dressed for this game, which was interesting. Mandy McGlynn gets the start. And then Claire Hutton and Lily Johannes are incredibly young. And unfortunately, and Lily Johannes is my favorite, she made some mistakes in this game that led to the costly goal. So I think this could be an opportunity for her to be like, it's great that Emma Hayes is giving her this opportunity to make a big mistake in that, a mistake that leads to a goal, and then be like, figure it out. And that's where I think this is great to play in these intense situations and be like, you either now from that point figure out how to make sure that doesn't happen again, or you crumble. And I don't think Lily Johannes is going to crumble. I think she's going to learn from it and make some adjustments moving forward with the U.S. women's national team.
Yeah, definitely. And there was a shift in the second half, even though they couldn't score. Michelle Cooper and Avery Patterson subbed in, and that's when the momentum started swinging back to the U.S. Patterson was winning key balls, and then you had Claire Hutton, who almost scored in the 57th minute. She hit the ball off the bar from long range, but unfortunately wasn't able to convert. And then you had other missed chances just overall by the U.S. You had Lily Johannes, who had a free kick that just went wide in the first half. You had Sophia Wilson, one-on-one again, just missed. Michelle Cooper at 75 minutes was on a run, but just couldn't find a teammate in the right spot. And then Jaden Shaw, who subbed in, missed a late header, which was a ball delivered from Rose Lavelle. So they had their chances. They just couldn't convert after that initial goal in the first half. The physicality of the game was matched on both sides. So the U.S. were definitely playing just as physical as Brazil, but they just couldn't control the ball the same as Brazil and kept losing the ball in key spots. And then again, they just had too many missed chances.
And where the physicality, I think, differed a little bit is that Brazil's physicality, I think, was measured. Like, we're going to do this in this way. And I felt like the US's was a reaction. Like, oh, you're playing physical, so I'm going to play physical too. And it wasn't as emotionally contained. Like, where Brazil very clearly had the idea of like, we're going to be physical and use it as a tactic. I felt like the U.S. was physical in a way that was reactionary.
Yeah, that's fair to say, I think. Emma Hayes was quoted saying, "It was an amazing atmosphere, and it's one that as much as I can prepare my team for this, you don't really know until you experience it. I am sure for many of my players, this is the first time they've ever experienced an intensity from the crowd."
Do you want to make a prediction on who won on Monday night?
I want to say I hope the U.S.
I think it's going to be, well, I don't know. I'll say it's going to be Brazil. And then if Brazil wins 2 games in a row, everyone's going to be freaking out.
Yeah. I hope the U.S. won.
Same. All right, let's get into the French Open. Mirra Andreeva claimed her first Grand Slam title at 19 years old at the French Open. We are talking about tennis. I also just want to say that in our very first episode of Women's Sports Weekly, we talked about Mirra Andreeva.
Wow, you have a good memory.
I had to look it up today, but I was like, I think we did, mostly because I remember I said the scores of the sets wrong and had to go back and redub over it. And I was like, wow, this podcasting is rough.
If only you knew.
Mirra Andreeva defeated Poland's Maja Chwalińska 6-3, 6-2 in the final. And I need to take a moment to talk about Chwalińska, and I apologize that my Polish accent is not great, but I know that I'm pronouncing it somewhat correct. She just had an amazing tournament. She entered the tournament at number 114 in the world, and it is projected that she is going to be ranked 21 after this final.
Wow, that's really cool. And this is why I love the Grand Slams in tennis because, and again, no one becomes an overnight success, but in these big moments, it kind of feels that way, right?
Yeah.
And to go from 114 to potentially 21 is just an incredible stat.
Yeah, and just raises her stock so much. We know that these players pay a lot of their way to get to where they are, and they have to pay their coaches. And I just love that you go from 114 to 21 and probably get a lot more opportunity to be able to pay your coaches and fly to where you need to go without it being such a financial stress.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Mirra Andreeva. Her most notable victory came up when she played Marta Kostyuk in the semifinals. Kostyuk entered the match in outstanding clay court form. She had not lost on clay at all this season before Mirra Andreeva beat her 6-1, 6-3. And again, these are best out of 3 for women. And it was also Mirra Andreeva's first win over Kostyuk after losing their previous 2 meetings. So pretty incredible for her. And this Grand Slam was crazy because all 3 of the women who had won the previous 6 Grand Slam titles, Iga Swiatek, Aryna Sabalenka, and Coco Gauff, were out before the semifinals.
Yeah, and you had even said to me at one point, because Sabalenka of those 3 was the last to go down, and you thought it might be her year, and she's never won a French Open. I saw some clips of her in the press conference following the match, and I think she was quoted saying that she just wanted to quit tennis in that moment. And if you haven't watched her play, she's an incredible tennis player and so intense, which makes her so fun. But I can only imagine how angry she was in that moment, losing, when maybe she saw, this is my chance. This is my Open here.
Yeah, and I'm kind of off the Aryna Sabalenka train, mostly because she's made some anti-trans comments in the past few months. So for me, I'm like, well, too bad.
Yeah, I'm not saying I feel bad, but
no.
And obviously I don't stand for what she stands for.
Yeah.
She's just an amazing tennis player, like,
for sure,
if you're looking at the sport.
For sure. So defending champ Coco Gauff lost in the 3rd round. Iga Swiatek lost in the 4th round, which was the round of 16. And then, as you mentioned, Aryna Sabalenka lost in the quarterfinals. So it really blasted this Open. And for a second, I was like, it would be so cool if Maja Chwalińska took this, because it would just be like this crazy Cinderella story. But I'm so happy for Mirra Andreeva. She is the 6th different champion in the past 6 slams. So like, this women's side is very open. It can go to anyone. She's also the youngest women's champion in Paris since Monica Seles in 1992. She wasn't even alive in 1992. And then she became the first player born after 2005 to win a Grand Slam singles title. So we've been talking about her this is our 3rd year talking about her. We were talking about her when she was 16. She gets her first Grand Slam title at the old age of 19 years old.
Incredible. Congrats to her.
Let's get into some Women's Sports Weekly updates for the week.
Yes, we're going to start with Run Club this Thursday and every Thursday at 6 p.m. Mountain here in Denver at the 99ers Sports Bar. This coming week on June 11th, it is a very special Run Club for us because we are hosting our Pride Run event this week. So if you are coming, please wear your Pride gear. I know we will.
I have mine on. This is what I'm wearing.
Nice.
The 99ers has new Pride gear out. I just want to call it out because I think they have the best merch ever. And yes, this is what I'll be wearing on Thursday too.
Yeah, I'm really excited. And also, we will be collecting donations to One Colorado. This is the state's leading advocacy organization dedicated to advancing equality for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer Coloradans and their families. So even if you're not Come in a Run Club, just consider donating to One Colorado to support them, especially during Pride Month. We will also link the link to their website on our link tree in our bio, so you could check it out there. If you listen to our podcast each week, we share a secret word, and if you share that secret word with the bartenders after a 3-mile run, you get 50% off your first draft. The word this week is pride.
We also need to take this time to ask you to please rate and subscribe to our podcast. We love putting this podcast together. We create, produce, and edit the podcast ourselves. So if you want to support us, please rate, subscribe, give us a positive review, and share this podcast with the people you love. Thank you to everyone who has rated the podcast so far. If you send us a screenshot of your 5-star rating, we will send you a Women's Sports Weekly sticker for free in the mail. All right, we're going to do a fun little thing for our deep dive. I don't even know if you know this is coming.
I looked ahead at the note.
Okay. It is Pride Month, and every Pride we have shared some personal information about ourselves, like our coming out stories, how we met, what Pride means to us. But I want to take us back because there were signs growing up that we were gay in some way. We were queer, whatever term we like to use. And I think that everyone has these signs from childhood or teenage years that in hindsight, you're like, yep, makes a lot of sense. So I want to talk about some of those. And I have some topic areas to get us thinking. But I just had a flashback of there is a picture of you sitting on your grandma's lap when you're like 7 or 8 and you're doing the peace finger sign with your tongue in between the peace fingers. And there's no way that you even knew what that meant, but your body just instinctively knew to do it. And it is so amazing that it's caught on camera.
My sisters and I share that photo very frequently because it is so funny.
It really kills me. Okay, so did you have any celebrity crushes that are like, whoa, I should have known?
Yes, still do. Rachel McAdams.
Ooh.
Always.
And you saw her in what?
I just was like, wow.
No. You saw her in what movie?
Oh, probably The Notebook. She's in quite a few movies. A good book I've read. Time Traveler's Wife. I loved her in that. The Notebook.
Wedding Crashers even?
Wedding Crashers. Yeah. I don't love her in Mean Girls. I don't know. She doesn't do it for me as a blonde, but in all the other movies, just love her. What about you?
Okay, so this is man, but I think it tracks. I was obsessed with Lance Bass from NSYNC, and I had his poster on my wall, and I would make out with the poster.
I remember you telling me that.
And so I think that was a sign looking back. You know, Lance Bass is gay, was gay then, but I just really connected with him. And then also I was thinking back, Xena Warrior Princess. Did you ever watch that?
No.
The lead, her name is Lucy Lawless, and she's just like this beautiful, strong woman. And I used to watch that show and be obsessed with it. And now looking back, I'm like, oh, that's why.
That's funny.
Okay, were there any sports teams or fictional characters that you were suspiciously obsessed with?
I talk about this all the time. I was obsessed with Tennessee women's basketball, especially Candace Parker. And I also, as a kid, loved UConn women's basketball. So just women's basketball in general, I was a fan of from the start and would even find my way at some Liberty games back in the day.
Love it. Mine were more movies. Bend It Like Beckham. I said this past week to some friends, I was like, the way that I obsessively had my Bend It Like Beckham DVD in any trip, my mom got me a portable DVD player. I was so excited. It would be like a 15-minute trip. And I would go into the car and put the portable DVD player on and just watch Bend It Like Beckham. And I just think it's a queer movie. I know it's not, but it is.
I have to rewatch that. I couldn't even tell you anything about that movie. I don't know if I've ever even watched it fully.
Ugh, it's so good. We should watch it together.
Okay.
Also, my friends were all obsessed with Rent, the musical, and the movie. And me and my friend Kate would sing Take Me or Leave Me, which is the song about the lesbian couple on the show. And we would sing it to each other, duet style. And both of us weren't out, but now Kate is happily married to her partner Lizzie with 2 kids. And I am happily married. And there were signs. And then another movie, I was just obsessed with surfing in general. And I watched Blue Crush and saw Michelle Rodriguez in Blue Crush. And I was like, whoa, this is doing something to me. I would make collages of surfers And then my brother would come over and be like, why is it only girls on your collage? And I was like, don't know. It's just who I am.
Yeah. All the posters and stuff in my room too were just female athletes.
Love.
Yep.
Love. Okay, I know you have some of these. What are fashion choices that you made?
First of all, fashion and me never got along. But as a kid, I was the biggest tomboy ever. And I would shop in Kmart and I would get cargo pants in the boys section that you could unzip and they would become really long cargo shorts.
Yes, love it.
I would wear those. I'd wear a visor. I used to wear a backwards hat and try to like spike up my bangs. That's what I was into. And I would wear these weird cargo-y capris even through college, and they were below the knee. It just, I don't know. I needed help. Seriously, I needed a lot of help and no one was helping me. And I look back at pictures and it's the cringiest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, you were rocking the Bermuda shorts for a very long time.
Yeah. And I think partially it's because I was so uncomfortable in my body. Whenever I look back at pictures, I'm like, my family just chooses to believe that I wasn't gay. The signs were there.
I also think it's very common for gay women who are not out yet to like dress in a lot of business casual. They don't know what to do, so they just throw on some business casual, hoping that it'll be feminine enough for whatever they're doing. It's just a rough time. It's a rough time.
Yeah, like I would wear slacks to Christmas. Like, what was I doing? So weird.
I love that. Okay, I had these black Nike shoes that I loved. They were all black shoes and they had this teal blue Nike symbol on them. And I got them and I brought them home. And my sister immediately was like, only lesbians wear all black shoes. And I was like, fuck, I'm not coming out. I was convincing myself that I wasn't gay, even though I knew I was. I just was like, no, it can't happen. It can't be. And so I never wore those black shoes. I just tucked them away and they were totally new. And yeah, I'm still upset about it.
That's really sad. Siblings can be harsh when you're growing up.
They can be. And my sister, I know, was just trying to like protect me, right?
Of
like,
course.
You're going to get made fun of. This is what, and she didn't know either. And so, yeah, I wish things were different, but it wasn't at that time. So I put those black shoes away and I probably donated them.
Aww.
And I hope someone got to wear them because I'd wear them now.
Yeah, sad.
Okay, so those were a lot of signs that we had. Did we miss anything else? Other signs? I think I did a lot of like, I'm not gay, but if I was, I would totally. I'm so cool about my sexuality and I'm so straight that I could tell you how much I could make out with some girl. I think I did a lot of that.
Yeah, I think I just had a lot of dreams that I would not tell anyone about because it was so embarrassing. And I was like, nope, you're not gay, you're not gay, you're not gay. But here we are, proud to be. And that's why pride is so important.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm just happy I finally had the courage to come out to myself, one, and then everyone else, even though it was not always easy.
Yeah, what would you say to little Danielle in her cargo shorts with like Candace Parker all over her room as she's trying to figure that out, if you could say something to her now?
Yeah, I wish I came out that young because I wouldn't have wasted so much time trying to make relationships with guys work, right?
Yeah.
So I would just tell young me, like, you're going to be very happy one day and you might as well start being happy now. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I think I would say something similar. And I don't know if I came out then, if things might be dramatically different. My family might have had a totally different reaction. I'm worried that I would get really bullied if I came out in high school. So maybe it's like, it's okay that you're gay. You don't have to tell anyone yet. And once you do come out, you'll know it's the right time. And then your life will change in these amazing ways that you didn't even know was possible. I think that's what I would say.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm giving our younger selves hugs right now.
Yeah.
Can you hug yourself?
Oh,
don't be weird about this. You're a therapy guru. Give yourself a hug.
I do this a lot in therapy where I like picture my younger self and I really try to like give her what she needed that time. And it probably was like a hug and yeah, I see you and you're going to be good.
Yeah, your inner child needs to be tended to every once in a while.
Love that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What are you looking forward to this week, Danielle?
I'm looking forward to the WNBA. So on Monday, June 15th, the Dallas Wings play the Las Vegas Aces at 8 p.m. Eastern. The last time these two teams played, the Wings won, which is pretty unbelievable. They won 95-87.
Don't say that about the Wings.
The Aces are just so good, and for a young team to beat them, it's impressive. AZ Fudd led all scorers that game with 22 points. She shot 9 from 15 from the field, and during this game, it was also her first start of the 2026 WNBA season. So great way to start for her.
Yeah, and then some interesting things happen. So we've talked about Kennedy Carter before. She plays for the Las Vegas Aces. She is an incredible player. She did not play on a WNBA team last year because of some issues she was having in the locker room. So people on social media after this game were making comparisons between AZ Fudd and Kennedy Carter. And of course, Kennedy Carter decided to clap back.
Not surprising. What did she say?
She pointed out a specific play where she crossed up AZ Fudd and claimed that she made her ankle touch the ground. That's in quotes. And then she also referenced her limited minutes and told followers to watch out when her, quote, leash is off. And it's just like, why are we picking on AZ Fudd? And I know that Kennedy Carter has a chip on her shoulder, and she goes onto social media and people are starting to compare, and it's probably very triggering. And at the same time, it's like, please, Kennedy Carter, just please stay on the Las Vegas Aces. So there was a response tweet to Kennedy Carter that Aja Wilson actually ended up liking, which the tweet called Kennedy Carter an incredibly gifted player, but said she needs to stay out of her own way. And Aja Wilson liked it, which was kind of like, okay.
Sending a underlying message.
Yes. And then by the end of this, like, all the tweets were deleted. The message was unliked.
Oh boy.
But I feel like there's some drama building. We'll see what happens in this matchup between Dallas. Of course, AZ Fudd has not said anything about it. And
would you?
No. First of all, I'm not picking a fight with Kennedy Carter. No. And then on top of that, like, AZ Fudd, you got to stay off social media because it's probably a cesspool for her. It's probably so disgusting.
Yeah.
So the drama is unfolding. So we'll see what happens in this game.
What are you looking forward to?
I am looking forward to Athletes Unlimited Softball, which actually began yesterday on Tuesday. But today, the Portland Cascade take on the Carolina Blaze at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2. This is their second game of their 3-game series against the Carolina Blaze. I want to watch more Athletes Unlimited Softball this year. It's the professional softball league. They are amazing. And I know I'm going to because my girl, Megan Grant, plays for the Portland Cascade. And so they are taking on the Carolina Blaze, and national champion Reese Atwood from Texas plays for the Blaze. So this is going to be a very fun matchup. You get to watch the exact people you were watching in the College World Series now play at the professional level a week later.
It's really insane how they just move on. Similar in the W, but it's even quicker. They're just right into it.
Yeah, they get drafted during their season so that they could just go and get playing.
Yeah, wow.
That's it for this week. We will see you next week on Women's Sports Weekly. In the meantime, watch women's sports and share the podcast with your friends. Rate and subscribe to the pod on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Thanks for joining us.